from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day, the president speaks to farm country.
Farm country is God's country. So true.
Coverage from the American Farm Bureau Convention in Nashville. Plus, can cotton prices continue to climb?
I expect cotton to be, pretty fun trade moving into the beginning of the year.
Our dairy report looks at milk price expectations and a prescription for improving rural health care.
Ag Day, presented by the Chevy Silverado. High-strength steel for high-strength dependability.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Before a packed audience at the Farm Bureau's National Convention, President Trump said farmers and ranchers are a key component to the economic health of rural America. Mr. Trump is the first president to address the convention in nearly 3 decades. He spoke to a crowd of 4,500 attendees at the annual meeting being held in Nashville, Tennessee. The president spoke about the recent passage and signing of the tax reform law. He also talked about his administration's current focus on improving infrastructure in the country. He also addressed his administration's push to reduce government regulations.
If the Democrats got their way, they would reinstate every single regulation that we're cutting and add many more burdensome rules that don't do anything but hamstring our economy and burden our people and our farmers.
Many of the people in attendance hoped to hear the president speak about trade policy, but he made only a small mention about NAFTA, and he reiterated his past position that all trade agreements will be reviewed to ensure they're fair and reciprocal. Betsy Gibbon continues our convention coverage. Betsy.
Clinton, there are a number of ag leaders and lawmakers at the conference, and many say they want to thank the president for getting tax reform done. However, the next item on the list is to figure out trade and make the goal for renegotiations clear for farmers and ranchers.
If we don't have the income, those tax rates are irrelevant, and we get our income in significant part by selling agriculture commodities around the world, but especially in Mexico and Canada.
Trade is a key topic at the annual American Farm Bureau Federation Conference as farmers, ranchers, and lawmakers seek clarity.
Uncertainty in that situation is what makes us so nervous.
Duvall's message is the same: do no harm to ag. He's holding the president accountable with taking care of agriculture, especially with the North American Free Trade Agreement, which impacts trade between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
We're here as an organization to support him, to make sure that he can fulfill his promise that he made to me and farmers that met with him in the Roosevelt Room in the White House when he said that the renegotiation of NAFTA would be even better for agriculture after they were through with it.
A real expression of concern that should the administration decide their negotiating tactic is to withdraw, the risks are huge. And farm income is so low that it's a risk that I hope the president doesn't take.
It's a message Canadian Ag Minister Lawrence McCauley is echoing.
The word is not only from politicians, but from farmers and individuals and business people right across North America is be careful not to break something that's not broken.
Ted McKinney, U.S. Undersecretary of Ag for Trade and Foreign Ag Affairs, says the president is rightfully saying the deal has aged and the U.S. needs to take another look.
I continue to be bullish that we're not going to blow this up. I hope that's not the case.
However, he has a different message regarding Canada.
But you asked about the president. I would look north to our friends to the north to say, how are they doing with NAFTA? We've surfaced our proposals, haven't heard back. And the dairy policies as implemented by Canada continue to be the elephant in the room. So just as I visited bilaterally with my colleagues and good friends from Canada today, come on, let's get a reply.
On the dairy side, as I've indicated publicly many times, and I'm sure you know this, is that we have what we consider to be a very stable dairy industry, poultry industry, and egg industry in our country, and we support it.
A clear message from farm country as the future of major trade pacts remains uncertain to start 2018.
McCauley said the remaining nations in the Trans-Pacific Partnership are still negotiating that trade pact, even without the United States. The U.S. withdrew itself from the TPP shortly after President Trump was elected. Clinton?
All right, thank you, Betsy. Also at the convention, USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue presenting the findings of the Interagency Task Force on Agriculture and Rural Prosperity to the President. The President signed an executive order last spring to establish the task force. Perdue is chairman of that committee. The panel identified more than 100 opportunities to improve life in rural America. They focus on rural broadband, rural workforce, economic development, and controlling burdensome regulations. Farm Bureau President Zippy Duval echoes the need to contain government overreach.
I've served as your president for 2 years now, one under the previous administration and one under this administration. And folks, I'll let you in, I tell you, it's a breath of fresh air to be able to advocate for getting things done instead of having to constantly fight and defend agriculture against a steady stream of challenges from our own government. Yes.
At the end of the speech, President Trump signing 2 presidential orders that would be the initial steps toward expansion of broadband internet in farm country. The order calls for expediting the federal permitting process. The second order makes it easier to place cell towers on federal lands. The wildfires that hit Southern California late in 2017 has altered NOAA's annual list of billion-dollar disasters. Mike Hoffman has details in today's Crop Comments. Mike.
Good morning, Clinton. In October, NOAA released its list of natural disasters that surpassed $1 billion each in damages. Just yesterday, the agency updated their total. It's now 16 disaster events that hit the U.S. in 2017. That ties 2011 when Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Wilma made landfall. The agency added the massive wildfires that hit near Los Angeles in December. These fires were added to the Napa Valley fires that hit in October. Total losses from the 16 disasters reached $306 billion. Most of the dollar losses were attributed to the 3 hurricanes that hit the U.S., Harvey, Irma, and Maria. And let's hope that list can shrink in 2018. Now, taking a look at some of the wind speed forecast, you can see we're going to have some areas where it's a little bit windy. The Northeast is one of them. We have a system coming through the west, so some of the higher elevations out west as we head through the day today. And then as we head through tomorrow, you'll notice the areas really expand pretty significantly as we head through the day. It gets very windy in New Mexico, western Texas, and up and down the western portions of the country. We'll check out your forecast map coming up, but first here are some hometown tips.
Ever wake up wondering what does today's weather have in store? Well, with weather updates, it delivers the local forecast right to your cell phone each morning to make preparing for the day easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
All right, when we come back, cotton has seen a decent price run lately. Can it hold? Our analysts weigh in. And while the president speaks of rural prosperity, later we'll look at rural health care and see how one doctor in training plans to make a difference. A couple of cotton-producing states going head-to-head on the Gridiron Monday. So what's happening with the cotton crop and those recent market moves? Tyne Morgan has more from the Agribusiness Desk.
Here now with Craig Van Dyke of Top Third. You know, Craig, when we look at 2017, cotton was fun to watch. I mean, we look at the climb higher, and that was continuing into 2017. But have we turned a corner? I mean, into 2018, but have we turned a corner?
Cotton's been a fun trade here. You know, we're coming into the first week of January. We've been on 10 consecutive weeks higher. We failed here on this 11th week with new contract highs on Friday and a close lower. So a bit concerning. You've got open interest here hanging at 9-month highs. 9-year highs, and you've got markets sitting at contract highs across the board with spreads still halfway friendly. So I expect cotton to be, you know, pretty fun trade moving into the beginning of the year. Spec funds are near record long at this point. We saw that, back towards early spring when we saw the highs in cotton, and when they got out, it got downright ugly.
Why so much open interest?
Well, you're seeing a lot, the spec money come in. Okay. You know, it's one of the biggest rise in reasons for the open interest, and it correlates well with the price action as well as what we see on the COT reports. But You know, we've got pink bollworm in India, big concern. You know, I think, you know, the USDA is finally starting to recognize that in some of the reports. So I think we'll respond to it by the end of the year. So I think it's a market to keep a close eye on right now and for producers to be looking at managing.
Yeah, we know that this could buy some acres out there when we look at this planting season. So you kind of mentioned it, but what is your advice for producers? You know, a lot of cotton producers don't always look at forward contracting some of that crop, but is this the year that may be wise to do that?
Well, I understand, you know, there's a little bit different ballgame
Correct.
as far as forward contracting
Yep.
and cotton versus grains and
Yep.
other markets.
Yep.
This is one that I think a guy needs to utilize the market. You know, we could have a very exciting market if there is more issues in India, you know, one of the biggest producers. So to me, you know, you're looking at maybe you're getting out of wheat, you're doing more cotton this year. We're at profitable levels. I would not sit back on that. Make a move on some of it, likely using the board just because of the way, you know, as far as contracting and stuff goes.
All right, make a move. Thank you,
Make a
Craig.
move.
We appreciate it. All right, stay with us. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have a look at weather.
For a special report on the grain markets, call toll-free at 877-TT-HEDGE. That's 877-884-3343. Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Welcome back to AgDay. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman checking out the weather map, including what looks like some rain into California.
Yeah, a total change in the weather pattern that we've seen over the past month. Lots of moisture coming into the west coast. And there's a couple of systems coming in that part of the country. You can see the major one is actually coming into Southern California. Kind of unusual in this pattern that we've had, but lots of rain, some mountain snow there. Northern system will be putting down some moisture as well. Now in the east, it's really only Florida getting any moisture. A couple areas of low pressure, kind of east and west of Florida, will give you some showers and occasional thunderstorms in places, but I think they'll be more spotty there. High pressure by later today along the mid-Atlantic. Warm front coming through the middle of the country. This won't be a big weather maker, except for the fact it warms things up dramatically in places that have a fair amount of snow, especially the Great Lakes. It's going to be melting quickly over the next 3 or 4 days. You can see by tomorrow morning the southern system that came into California moving through Colorado and New Mexico with a lot of moisture there. Snow breaks out then in the colder air from Minnesota down into Nebraska as we head through tomorrow afternoon, and another system coming into the Pacific Northwest with some rain and mountain snows as well. Precipitation estimate over the past 24 hours, you can see most of it's been out west, but there still has been some, especially in Alabama and some of the surrounding states there. Adding in the next 36 hours, you can see we don't add a whole lot to the east, just a little bit in Florida, kind of hit and miss, central Mississippi Valley, but especially out west, we're going to see the first really good system that's come through over the past 4 to 5 weeks out there. And the higher elevations, that's going to be snow. Next 36 hours showing you where that's going to fall. Most of what falls in the east is already on the ground there. We don't see too much over the next 36, but you can see the higher elevations out west and that little strip coming into North and South Dakota, putting down some accumulating snow as well. This afternoon then, look at the highs for a change. I mean, we were looking at below zero readings a couple of weeks ago. Now we're looking at 30s and 40s for the northern plains, 60s and 70s in parts of Texas. Low temperatures tonight going to drop off a little bit, but not much. You can see 20s and 30s through the northern tier of states, 60s by the time you get to the Gulf Coast, and high temperatures tomorrow afternoon. More of the same, kind of mild to the south, a little bit colder in the far northern Rockies and the plains. Now here's the jet stream, and you can see why we're going to turn colder again. Really a quick shot of very cold air comes in as we head through this weekend, but then we go zonal again, it appears, as we head into the middle of next week. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. First of all, Sandpoint, Idaho, cloudy with rain and snow at times, high temperature of 37 degrees. Joplin, Missouri, mostly cloudy and milder with a high of 51. And finally, Dover, Delaware, partly sunny and rather mild today, high around 42.
Our dairy report is next. Plus, see how this former farm kid is helping to find a solution to the shortage of doctors in rural America.
AgDay, brought to you by Alivo Seed Treatment from Bayer. Protect your soybeans from SDS and nematodes this season.
And news from our partners at Dairy Herd Management. Milk prices continuing to soften. Class 3 prices now average below $14 per hundred. Analysts say a massive national herd, burgeoning supplies, declining domestic demand, and a relatively strong dollar indicate prices might dip lower before they improve. That has dairies watching the bottom line, managing inputs like feed to help increase fat and protein.
Dairy producers should track the pounds of protein and the pounds of butter fat that they produce per cow, because that's what they get paid on. They don't get paid on percent fat or percent protein. They get paid on pounds of fat and pounds of protein that's shipped to the farm. And right now, the average Holstein herd is shipping about 5.8 pounds of components per cow. If a dairy tracks that, then the dairy can try and work on shipping 6 to 6.5 pounds of components per cow, which will increase the value of the milk and the size of their milk check.
Out west, an update to California's quota program. Dairy farmers in the Golden State opting to continue their quota program even if federal milk marketing orders are created. 87% of voters voted in favor of continuing the quota system. USDA has yet to issue a final rule on the proposed California federal order. Idaho's so-called ag-gag law, aimed at preventing animal activists from coming onto farms to shoot video, has been struck down by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The decision reverses a lower court ruling. However, the appellate court did uphold a portion of that law that criminalizes making misrepresentations to obtain records or obtaining employment with the intent to cause harm. There are 10 other states with similar ag-gag laws. Well, up next, we'll meet a Missouri farm kid who's trying to make a difference by taking her medical training back home in the country. It's next.
AgDay, brought to you by Top Third Ag Marketing. Farmer first with a plan for every market.
Living in a small town comes with many benefits: little traffic, low crime, and small town hospitality. But one serious concern is a lack of doctors in some rural communities. In this report provided by the University of Missouri Health, Kent Faddis takes a look at how Mizzou's School of Medicine is working toward a solution.
Michelle Kinney is no stranger to life on the farm.
Classic American kid we did 4-H as children.
Michelle grew up on this farm in northeast Missouri, and that drives her personal mission to improve the health care of people in smaller communities.
I feel like everyone should have good care, and that it should be available and not something that's only granted to people who live in an urban area.
But few of her peers are following the same footsteps. In Missouri, only 18% of doctors practice in rural communities, while nearly 40% of the population lives there. This map shows how widespread the problem is. According to a 2017 report by the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, 99 of the 115 counties in Missouri have a shortage of physicians. To help solve this problem, the University of Missouri School of Medicine has started a rural residency opportunity, a new arm of its innovative rural health education program. Young resident physicians like Michelle can get hands-on experience with the clinical and business sides of rural medicine.
It is a good win for physicians because the physicians understand what their life is going to be like.
It's not so scary, and seeing that it is something that could fit for me.
Can you show me where your heart is?
In addition to spending time in the clinic, resident physicians take part in a lecture series, hearing from others who chose the same path.
They have to be much more independent because there's less specialists around, and we just want them to understand that. So when they go there, they stay there to practice.
Michelle is now more comfortable with her decision to come back to her roots in Kirksville, Missouri to practice medicine.
That's my biggest goal, is just to, provide great care for kids in rural settings and make them realize they don't have to travel.
From the University of Missouri, Kent Faddis reporting.
Thanks, Kent. Now, after she finishes her third year of residency in May, Michelle has a job waiting for her at the pediatric clinic in Kirksville. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. Start your day with us. For Mike Hoffman and all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day in Farm Country.